don't worry, deep breaths. It's gonna be okay, probably. But overall, we've obviously seen some very, very fear-inducing things coming out of Virtual's protocol recently. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Obviously we've seen some really, really punishing moves to the downside so far, especially since we saw that really nice top back in late December. At least if memory serves me right, it was late December, which is okay. But we've seen this happen before in bull markets. If you haven't seen my most recent video on the Virtual's protocol, maybe you should check that out. We do talk about various other examples in previous markets where we have seen basically this exact same thing happen, and then some 10, 50, 100 or more X's happen there. So crazy things can happen even after these really strong moves to the downside. But obviously, as we have seen in the past, we can, or at least currently, we are seeing Virtuals down 6.8% on the day. Kind of the whole ecosystem down pretty rough today. Things aren't looking particularly good. Even on the week, we've seen, this was, I think, green even just yesterday, but we've seen some really strong moves to the downside. Only a handful of things up here green on the week. We can see Solana ecosystem primarily getting hit pretty hard. Also, Sui been hit pretty hard as well. Some of these kind of hyped coins that we'd seen over the past several months not doing particularly well. And then we can also see, Virtuals down 20% on the week too. So we're going to be kind of focusing on Virtuals today, of course. But things looking bad all around, and I think that's kind of what we need to take away from this is, this is not Virtuals underperforming. Obviously, Virtuals has pulled back a very decent bit, but if we look at the year, the yearly returns are still very, very impressive. But since then, a really, really strong pullback. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. Is it over? Is it, what's happening? We haven't seen too much going on from the Virtuals protocol, at least recently. I think a lot of this is just because the devs are working away, and we're going to be going on to some news of some events coming in later on as well that we'll get into. But at least for right now, we're going to be looking at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. The market's showing neutral. I kind of disagree with this, to be honest, at least from an altcoin perspective. I think Bitcoin is holding up very, very well. I think even low greed or high neutral makes sense for Bitcoin. But if we're looking at the altcoins, probably fear, if not even extreme fear. The market is really just brutalizing not meme coins, but altcoins right now. Meme coins, I guess, supposedly being included. But we can see, volume starting to come back up a little bit, liquidation starting to come back a little bit. But what we've seen over the past couple of days is just liquidity overall in the crypto market has been pretty low. So I think that makes sense kind of from where we've been. Liquidity appearing to start to come back into the market. Usually liquidity is lower on the weekends and holidays, which obviously we just had President's Day being in the US. So we'll have to see, kind of what goes on here. But overall, the volume and liquidation numbers starting to come back a little bit, meaning that maybe things are starting to kind of heat back up in the crypto market. But I don't know, maybe we'll believe that when we see it. What we can see here, of course, this is basically like the Pico top here of Virtual's protocol at about $5.13 is what it looked like the high was. So since then, it's basically been down only. We saw a little bit of a relief rally happening here. And then also when we saw this, kind of liquidation wick, we saw a little bit of a relief rally here as well. But basically all of that kind of been given back, at least at this point so far. Where we find the bottom, it's really, really hard to say for sure. We're very much on the almost oversold, but definitely clearly in the weak side of the market right now for Virtuals. We're seeing on the Bollinger Band, in the bottom half, but not pushing up against the bottom, which does mean that, unfortunately, we do have further room to fall if that were to happen. And currently, the bottom Bollinger Band sitting at 87 cents. So potentially even below $1 in play here for Virtual. So it's something just to think about. But what we've seen so far, at least from a fundamental perspective, things looking okay still. I think a lot of this is kind of some overreaction just because the alt market has kind of gotten crushed so far. When this actually kind of makes its reversal and turns around, it's hard to say. We have found a decent bit of support kind of at this $1 to $1.10 range. So maybe we see this find a bottom here, but given the pressure that we're seeing to the downside, I wouldn't be holding my breath personally. We're just kind of starting to see how things end up working out. If we do go and we look at Bitcoin dominance, this is not unique to Virtual's protocol. We can see trending over the past, basically since the beginning of December, Bitcoin dominance has been going up. We could see, you know, obviously from the, you know, kind of over Thanksgiving time period to like the beginning of December, alts were running something crazy, you know, so we did see a little bit of a pullback here, hitting a low of about 54% for Bitcoin dominance. But now, I mean, we're well back up above 60%, holding numbers kind of sustainably higher to the highs that we saw kind of before that altcoin run. And so, you know, hard to say for sure. Was this the alt season? Was this just like the lamest alt season that we've ever seen? Or was this just kind of like a fake out, and now we're kind of moving into the really punishing parts of the cycle, in my opinion, which would be kind of making everybody lose and bleeding everybody's losses out of these altcoins that people started to enter in somewhat heavily kind of towards the end of 2024. You know, maybe a little bit of a twisted joke here, but that is potentially what could be happening, because again, everybody was looking for this indicator. When does Bitcoin dominance start dropping? When does Bitcoin dominance start dropping? When does it break the trend? It broke the trend. This could have been the point where people really started allocating heavy into altcoins, and because of that, this is happening just to inflict maximum amount of pain possible. We talked about this on the market video yesterday for Bitcoin as well, that when we saw this happening and when we've seen this type of thing happening, we've really started to see the overall sentiment in the market turn very bearish. And because of that, we're now starting to see, you know, the possibility of a lot of these coins that, you know, that are all, you know, hated on and bearish and fudded, maybe they come back and turn around. I mean, if we look at the liquidation chart, there's actually like $12 billion of liquidations on the 30-day chart sitting to the upside. And so there is the possibility that we see a really strong move back to the upside, because again, that would be the direction of max pain. We have to remember that the max pain in the market is usually inflicting as much pain as possible to as many people as possible. And right now, it's to the downside. There will get a point at which so many people have sold and capitulated and essentially taken their losses that the market will start to move back up. Now, the reason the market would start to move back up is twofold. One, there's a whole bunch of liquidations to the upside here, but also in addition to that, everybody's out of the market, right? And so if you bought your virtuals at $3 and sold it at $1, and now you start to see virtuals move back up $2, $3, $5, $10, now not only have they liquidated the people who are bearish on shorts, but now there's a whole nother thing at hand here, which is FOMO, right? Now people are FOMOing back into their positions because, they were in at 3 and then they were out at 1 because they sold, but now it's up to 5 and their initial conviction of the play was right, but they just didn't stick with it, all that type of stuff. So, that is very much a thing that can happen. And so going back to the virtuals chart, we don't know when the bottom is, right? But ultimately there will become a point where the maximum amount of pain has been inflicted, again, at least in my opinion, and then we start to see that turnaround and kind of that move to the upside. We are seeing a little bit of that support here, so maybe this is the bottom, maybe it's not, right? Maybe it continues further to the downside. Who's to know for sure? But if you are interested in trading virtuals, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything like that, kind of get a good sense on the market and try to learn how to trade a little bit. I am doing that bonus with BTCC, where they are doing a 10% bonus on first time deposits, as well as extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. There's also no VPN or KYC necessary. So if you are interested, looking for a new place to trade, maybe even a second place to trade, not happy with the one you're on or whatever, any of that type of stuff, just use the link in the description below and you will get signed up for that extra, again, additional bonus of that 10%. So anyway, like I said, if that's something you're interested in, just feel free to do that. Now, moving on, I want to take a look at a couple of different posts that we've seen on X recently. This is just kind of like a quick mindshare update, virtuals versus AI16Z. What we can see is that virtuals still leads AI agent mindshare, and I think this kind of makes sense, right? I mean, the virtuals protocol overall is a really, really strong protocol that's kind of building an ecosystem around itself, where AI16Z, I think it's kind of moving in the ecosystem direction, but we haven't actually necessarily, it kind of started out as like its own coin where it's like investing in crypto, all that type of stuff. So, it's still holding 3.3%, which is good, but virtuals, I think, kind of the one that's the big leader there. So, we'll have to see kind of how that goes. AI16Z kind of has that open source framework, but virtuals has the token-based system that I think is really kind of building it some pretty strong walls around it in terms of AI agents and whatnot. So we'll have to kind of see how that unfolds. Right now, I'm still pretty happy with kind of both, some of the value that these could provide longer term. who knows, maybe the bubble's popped. There was an AI agent bubble, 100%. Maybe that bubble has popped for good, or maybe it's just kind of letting a little bit of the steam out, again, inflicting some pain on people, and then we see another kind of run to the upside. Hard to know for sure. Time will tell. I do think virtuals has some longer term value here, and so I actually have started entering into some positions. Again, small positions. I'm fully okay and somewhat maybe half expecting that we do see further moves to the downside. So if we do, that's fine. I'll just DCA more in on the way down. But we finally hit a point at which I do think that kind of the risk to reward is starting to make more sense. Whether that actually happens for sure or not, who knows, right? Time will tell, but that's at least kind of what I'm doing, with my own funds currently. Now, the next one as well I want to show you is a little bit of some event updates here. We can see that Virtuals is going to be at ETH Denver. I'm going to be at ETH Denver, so I am very, very much looking forward to chatting with the Virtuals team, trying to figure out, what's their plan? How do they feel like the AI agent space is kind of, how is it going, through kind of what we seem to be a really, really promising and hot start. And now obviously, things not looking particularly great recently. So I'm going to be checking that out. Of course, I'll be telling you guys and keeping you guys updated as I hear more about what is going on within the AI agent space, how Virtuals is fitting into it, or, what they're doing, what plans they have for the future, a lot of that type of stuff. So, you'll hear it here first if I have anything that I find out that's interesting coming out of ETH Denver. So just subscribe, stay tuned, do all that type of stuff if you are interested. But also, that's pretty much what I've got for you today. Another thing that I wanted to kind of follow up on and kind of make clear is this AI agent thing is still very, very new. We haven't seen any listings on Coinbase, on Binance, on any of the major exchanges. Virtuals protocol is a base chain native project. So I do think it is very, very likely at some point that we will see Virtuals get listed at least on Coinbase. I would imagine probably getting listed on Binance as well, but we have not seen any of that yet. So even though things are looking a little bit rough currently, I think at some point in time, we do have some very, very bullish things coming on in the future. So like I said, hopefully you found the information in this video useful and entertaining, all that type of good stuff. If you did, please do give me a like and a subscribe because it really does help me out. Also, comments. I love comments. Appreciate the feedback. I love the questions. I love your thoughts. What do you think about what's going on in the market? Is it over? Are we just seeing things get started? What do you think? So leave all those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.